How's it going, everybody? My name is Tyler Pinero, and we had the NBA season just wrap up. So now all we have right now is the MLB and the FIFA World Cup, which has been really exciting. But NFL training camp is going to start in just a few weeks now, as well as OTAs. And what does everybody love about the NFL? Playing fantasy football. So today, I'm going to bring you guys a mock draft of who I and my guest, Will Nicholson, right here, to my right, believe should go in the first round of your fantasy draft. A lot of mock drafts, people like to go all the way through. Today, we're just going to do the first round. We're going to think of this as a 12-team PPR. So, without further ado, Will, you're the guest today. Would you like to kick us off with who you think should be the #1 pick in fantasy?
Yeah, I would love to. First of all, thank you for having me. It's an honor to still be doing podcasts with you, even though we've gone different places. I mean, MCM all the way to Whitman Hanson now, so it's been great. My 1-1 is a guy who I think he's just going to be the bell cow this entire season. He's going to be great. He's got receiving upside. It's a running back, spoiler. I'm going to go with Jahmyr Gibbs. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is kind of the clear 1A for me. I think there's a 1B that's kind of close that I wouldn't be too upset with. But, yeah, I think Jahmyr Gibbs is kind of the easy, I need him.
Okay, so I'm going to flip-flop with you. My first pick is going to be your 1B. I'm going to say Bijan Robinson should be the #1 pick. So now I'm going to assume your 2 is Bijan.
Absolutely.
Because my 2 is going to be Jahmyr Gibbs. But so Bijan, we can debate this all we want. So Bijan last year had 2,300 scrimmage yards. That's rushing, receiving, and returns, even though he wasn't really returning anything. Was an absolute horse. And he would have had more touchdowns if he didn't have Tyler Algier involved. Now, Tyler Algier is gone. He only has Brian Robinson to compete with. And he's about the same build as Brian Robinson, so I think he'll get just as much, even more production in the rushing and receiving game and more red zone touches. So I think that's going to make Bijan maybe a candidate to get to almost 20 touchdowns this year.
Yeah, I flip-flop back and forth whenever I thought about it. The reason I go Jahmyr over Bijan is just because I think that offense is kind of fine-tuned to him. Like, I think that, what they've done there has been pretty much Jahmyr the whole way. And also, you got no David Montgomery behind him. I think that he's going to have a really high upside. I mean, they're both, you can go either way here. Like, 1A and 1B, they're both very, very good. Bijan, the question is also the quarterback. Now, he is a running back, so, not a whole lot to nitpick here, but they don't know if it's going to be Tua, is it going to be Michael Penix? You don't know yet, and we're going to have to wait until we get into training camp to see. Training camp to see. But I think that the way that Jahmyr has kind of become the focal point in this offense, I think that makes him the 1A, and he has receiving upside compared to, we don't know what that running back or that quarterback situation is going to be like in Atlanta.
So, yeah, I totally agree with you. Them trading David Montgomery definitely was a big reason why I considered to have Jahmyr be the #1, because Jahmyr still put up 1,800 scrimmage yards last season while having to compete with David Montgomery. I wouldn't even really say compete because they worked off of each other so well, but now he has no competition in that backfield. And, yes, the Lions are a team that love to air the ball out. We'll get into that a little bit more later on in the first round, obviously. But Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously, is going to be the solo workhorse in that backfield, so I totally see why you have him at 1. I personally just have him at #2.
I flip-flop so many times at this point where it could be Bijan, it could be Jahmyr Gibbs. It really doesn't feel like there's a right answer between 1 and 2. I've had Jahmyr Gibbs in a couple of my leagues last year. Love Jahmyr Gibbs, so I'm going to stick with him at the 1, but 100% I would look out for Bijan.
All right, so now we'll jump into the third pick. That kind of worked out pretty well. So, to me, my third pick is going to be obviously, we're both Patriots fans. Yeah. This is going to be my favorite non-New England Patriot in the NFL right now. Who I think is the best wide receiver in the NFL. That is Jamar Chase.
Yeah, I matched you with Jamar Chase. He's my #3 as well.
I think Jamar Chase, the upside is so much there. Last year, he still put up 1,400 yards and 8 touchdowns in double-digit games without Joe Burrow, playing with Jake Browning and Joe Flacco, who no disrespect to Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco was balling out last year, but Jake Browning was definitely not it for Jamar, but he was still able to produce when he got a ball that was catchable. We've seen Jamar triple crown with a fully healthy Joe Burrow. Jamar's my pick to win Offensive Player of the Year, and I think he's going to have another monster season in Cincinnati.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I knew that Jamar Chase is your guy. I figured he'd probably go at #3, and we'd have the same here. But, yeah, I think Jamar, the upside, you pretty much nailed it. Exactly. A full season of Joe Burrow could put up crazy numbers. I mean, this guy, he's kind of become the modern day, like DeAndre Hopkins when it comes to numbers, where it's whatever quarterback you put out for DeAndre Hopkins in the 2010s, he was balling out. It feels like that with Jamar Chase. Now, obviously, you want him to have Joe Burrow, but just the fact that, Burrow with his injuries, if he does go down, you still know, Jamar Chase can put up numbers with any quarterback that he has, high upside guy. And with Joe Burrow, I think he's going to be healthy for this whole season. Maybe an MVP case for Joe Burrow, so who knows. But yeah, Jamar Chase, easy 3, best receiver off the board.
So now I'll kick it back to you for who you believe should be the 4th pick in this year's fantasy draft.
Yeah, I was flipping back and forth between these two guys. I didn't know exactly where I wanted to go at first. And this is kind of like another, you can flip-flop back and forth between my 4 and 5. But I'm going to go Puka Nacua going at number 4. Another guy like Jamar Chase, high upside receiver, catches a lot of balls. He's also got an MVP candidate in Matt Stafford, who I think still has some tick left on that clock of his career and being an MVP level quarterback. So I think Puka's going to have a really good year. I would definitely look for him at the 4 if he's there.
So my 4 is probably going to be who you have at your 5. I'm going to go with the reigning Offensive Player of the Year and Super Bowl champion, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Yep. JSN, 1,800 receiving yards last year, double-digit touchdowns. Sam Darnold has proven now that he's no longer a scrub quarterback, even though I never really believed that. Sam Darnold's one of those guys. He can get his guy the ball. Him and JSN are a phenomenal duo. We saw what they did in their first year together. I only expect the two of them to get better, and JSN owners are going to seriously benefit from that. So if JSN's available and I have the 4th pick and those 3 guys are gone, I'm taking JSN.
100%. Yeah, I mean, that was my guy. That was number 5 for me, JSN. And you nailed it too. I mean, JSN, huge guy. The reason that they won the Super Bowl, maybe behind Kenneth Walker a little bit, which is why I'm leaning more towards him going at number 5, just because I think Puka is going to be like the number 1 in that offense now. Yeah. I don't know if Devontae Adams is still kicking it in LA. Okay, so he's still there. So he's still got a good receiving core there, but obviously Kenneth Walker going and signing with Kansas City. I think that kind of hinders their offense a little bit, but I still think JSN is going to be really good. I mean, incredible receiver. Like, one of the reasons that they had as good of a season as they did. So I'm going to stick JSN at 5. I like Puka at 4 just a little bit better because I think his quarterback situation is a little bit better. No shade to Sam. He played great last year.
Yeah, and I'm obviously have Puka Nacua at 5. Puka had just 100 less yards than JSN. I believe Puka had to miss 1 game as well, so very well could have taken the yards total from JSN had he played that 1 extra game. Also put up 10 touchdowns, and obviously he was a big reason why Matthew Stafford just won an MVP at 39 years old. And now the Rams, too, obviously probably all of our favorites to win the Super Bowl this year with the recent trade that they just made for Myles Garrett. But Puka, obviously, he's going to be such a focal piece. We've seen what Puka's done his first couple of years in the NFL. No one really knew who he was coming in. Came in his rookie year, balled out, and he's balled out every single year since. It's a contract year for Puka, too. So expect him to play angry. He's going to want an extension. Maybe sign with a different team if the Rams can't afford it. So expect Puka to put up phenomenal numbers.
100%. It feels like Puka is due for that Offensive Player of the Year season because he's played so well. He's played phenomenal. But, a contract year, guys usually play a little bit harder. It feels like this could be the year where maybe he even competes with Jamar Chase for Offensive Player of the Year. If he catches enough balls, who knows? So, yeah, Puka, insanely good. I'm going to put him at 4, JSN 5.
All right, so now I'll jump in at number 6. For me, this is where it can get a little bit more wonky in our section. As you see behind us, we have both of our top 5s in the slideshow. So my pick for number 6 in this year's draft is going to be Devon Achane of the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, the Dolphins just cleaned house. Tyreek Hill's a free agent, even though he probably wasn't going to suit up this season. They traded Jalen Waddle, new quarterback in Malik Willis. They only really have one offensive weapon, and that is Devon Achane. He's a receiving back with so much receiving upside. He had 1,300 rushing yards last year. Not sure on his total scrimmage yards, but we've seen what Achane can do when he gets the ball in space. He's so fast. He's so hard to tackle, so hard to bring down. Such a great player. I think Achane's going to have that step up this year and just be a tier below Bijan and Gibbs.
Yeah, I think so. I like the pick, but my number 6, I'm going with a different running back. Same division. I'm going James Cook at number 6. I think that James Cook had a phenomenal year last year, and I think he's only scratched the surface with how good him and Josh Allen have been as that kind of 1-2 pieces of the offense. He had a ton of yards last year. I had him in fantasy last year, so maybe I'm a little biased. He put up crazy numbers for me, and he's not a guy that I would pass on. I do like Devon Achane, but my thing with him is we don't know the quarterback situation. That's my thing with receiving. It's going to be confusing. Willis. It is going to be Malik Willis.
Balled out when he had to come in for Jordan Love, earned himself that contract.
That's fair.
So
you don't think Quinn Ewers has put up a fight there?
No. Absolutely not. Shout out Quinn Ewers, but no.
Yeah. Well, like the thing with HN is I put a lot of when receiving backs, right? Obviously, he's a phenomenal rusher. Receiving backs, it depends for me a lot on who is throwing them the ball and how that offense is going to run. And I just like Josh Allen better than Malik Willis. So I really like James Cook here. I had him last season. He did good things for me. I would take him at the number 6. I had a hard time. If I'm sitting there at 6 and I see all these guys available, biasly, I think it's going to be hard for me to not go with James Cook.
Smart. So now I'll throw number 7 over to you. Who you got 7?
Yeah, number 7, I'm going with another running back here. And by the way, it's full PPR in this league, hypothetically. So my number 7, just double check my list here. Yeah, I'm going to go Jonathan Taylor. Another running back, another receiving back kind of guy, going to have high upside. Him and HN, I were kind of flipping between, here if it was HN or if it was Jonathan Taylor. I just think Jonathan Taylor, been in the league a little more experience. I think he's going to have a great year. Besides the 1 year where he was like the consensus number 1 overall pick and he kind of disappointed, he's been phenomenal in that backfield. So yeah, I'm going to go JT.
So at 7, I like the Jonathan Taylor pick. You'll see him a little bit later on my list. I'm going to go another bell cow running back who just continues to prove me wrong every single year. I'm going to go with Christian McCaffrey.
Like it.
He's Christian McCaffrey. We've seen what he's been able to do for almost 10 years now. Can put up 1,000 rushing and 1,000 receiving yards in a year. Any year, it seems like, can get you double-digit touchdowns as well. And he can even throw the ball a little bit, as we've seen in his 49er days. So he's Christian McCaffrey. There's not much else you really need to say. You know what you're going to get with him. He hasn't been as injured, hopefully, knock on wood, that doesn't happen again. But yeah, if I see CMC at 7 and those 6 above are gone, CMC is who I would take.
I like the CMC pick. I do. It's so hard for me to trust his injury. You'll hear me mention him a little bit later. I like CMC, I do, but I just can't trust him. It feels like, it's like the trap you keep falling into with CMC for me. Like, you get him 1 year, and then he's injured and blah, blah. You skip on the next year, he's great. So it's a tough decision to make.
So now moving on to 8. I have a guy, he's coming off an injury, but despite missing a couple of games, he was still able to put up 1,000 receiving yards with another 1,000-yard receiver in his receiving room. I'm going to go CeeDee Lamb at number 8.
Love that. Love the CD pick. My number 8, kind of the similar ballpark here. I want a guy, maybe a little bit younger, has a little bit better of an offense. I'm going to go with Amon-Ra St. Brown for my number 8.
Good pick. I'm really going with CD because even though George Pickens is there now, we saw what he was the wide receiver 1 in a fully when him and Dak were both fully healthy. So now you got to brace for that. CD looked very good when he came back from his injury later in the season last year, and Dak coming off another great fully healthy year. The Cowboys just couldn't really get it done in the win column. Unfortunately, their defense had some struggles, yada yada yada. But CeeDee Lamb, I've seen the dominance, and it sells me enough to think that if I can see him available in that 8 slot, I'm going to pick him.
Yeah, my thing with CD is that I like, and this might be controversial, I like Goff over Dak, in my opinion. I think Goff's a little more reliable. Dak's still a very good quarterback. I think he gets underrated now at some points. I think he's still probably a top 10 guy. I think he's still pretty good. Yeah. But yeah, I still think that Amon-Ra, just the upside that dude has every year, it's something it's hard to pass on. I have CD, not too far behind him on my list, so I like CD there. I think I trust, Goff throwing the ball to Amon-Ra more than I trust Dak throwing a CD.
So now we're jumping into number 9. Who's your pick at 9?
This is my fun one. So this is a guy who a lot of people actually have in round 2. But since we are full PPR and my list has been consistent, I like guys who you can trust, a safety blanket, has a good quarterback behind them, or at least who we know is going to be their quarterback. So I'm going to go at my number 9. I'm going to take Brock Bowers. I'm going to get my first tight end off the board here. Love Brock Bowers. Crazy rookie season. I think he's only going to get better. He's got a better quarterback now, hopefully with the number 1 pick in Fernando Mendoza. So I love Brock Bowers. Kind of a sleeper, but I'm looking at this list here, and I think that if I saw all these guys, the 8 in front of him go, and I'm sitting there at 9, and you're thinking about we're in a 12-man league, it's going to come back around to me where you have still some very decent guys like Omarion Hampton are going to be in the 2nd round. So I just want this guy. I would go Brock Bowers at 9.
I like the pick. It's just for me, I can't justify drafting a tight end in the 1st round. And yeah, Brock Bowers, he was great last year with Geno Smith, of all people, as his quarterback. But now it's a competition between Fernando Mendoza, Kirk Cousins. It's probably going to be Mendoza starting. It's just running a rookie quarterback and getting a guy, high-profile guy like Brock Bowers is something that always scares me. So I don't have Bowers in my first round personally, but I like the boldness from you. My 9, we talked about him earlier. I'm going to go Jonathan Taylor.
There we go.
Taylor, 1,600 rushing yards and 15 touchdowns last year. Start of the year, if this is based off of what the first 10 games of the year, Jonathan Taylor might be in like my top 3.
Yeah.
But he had such a bad fall off in that second half of the year, and the Colts ended up missing the playoffs after they started out, 8-0?
Yeah, they were really good last year for a while.
And obviously, it's not just Jonathan Taylor that goes into that. Obviously, Daniel Jones getting hurt, which, by the way, big shout out Daniel Jones, reviving his career, getting himself $40 million.
Indiana Jones.
But just that second half of the year from the Colts in general is kind of scaring me away from Jonathan Taylor. I don't deny his talent. I think he's obviously one of the most talented players in the NFL. We saw it last year. People were really saying that Jonathan Taylor was the MVP up until like week 10 or 11.
Yeah. He was up there for sure. I think Jonathan Taylor, obviously I like him a little bit more up there. I'm drafting just for upside too. Like my thing in the first round is, for me, like, if you want to win a championship in fantasy, you got to kind of make that risky play, that risky pick. Jonathan Taylor is kind of one of those, you take him early, the upside's crazy if you get him that early. And same thing for Brock Bowers. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we're in week 3 and Brock Bowers is like close to leading the lead in receptions and targets, because he's really the only guy besides Genti that offense is turning around right now. And he was so good in his rookie year with Geno Smith. But yeah, Brock Bowers at 9. Is it bold? 100%. But it's one of those things where I like to take risks in fantasy, and if I see him there and I know that I'm going to have like a Hampton coming back around in the second round, I'll take him at 9.
I like the pick. Now jumping down to the 10th pick. This one's really risky. I could change him with my guy at 11. It's just his upside is so there. It's just his situation is not great at all. Number 10, I'm going to go Justin Jefferson.
Wow.
So Justin Jefferson last year, even with all the stuff he had to deal with in the quarterback room last year, was still able to put up 1,000 yards. The only thing is he only had 2 touchdowns last year. Now his quarterback competition is between J.J. McCarthy and Kyler Murray. And you never really know what you'll get out of Kyler Murray, and it's kind of clear what you'll get out of J.J. McCarthy, and that product is not great. So Jefferson, he is a high-risk, high-reward type of guy, because we've seen him win an Offensive Player of the Year with Kirk Cousins, and then he balled out with Sam Darnold, but Minnesota didn't want to bring back Sam Darnold, and now Sam Darnold's a Super Bowl champion and just led another Offensive Player of the Year. So I like Justin Jefferson. He's one of my more favorite players in the NFL, but I feel like 10 is like the highest I could draft him, and I'm going to keep him there because we know how great of a player he is.
I love Justin Jefferson, but I will say to you, not in my first round, Justin Jefferson. I left him out. That quarterback situation and the whole situation in Minnesota, it just feels like it gets worse by the day. Every time I read a new headline with the Vikings, it's, oh, Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy don't actually like each other, and like that was a whole thing. And oh, Justin Jefferson, where is he going to play in the offense? Are they still going to keep him as that Z receiver? And it's very confusing what Minnesota is doing. And I'm staying away from it for now. If it were, if I theoretically am picking in this back half, and maybe I get, I don't know, like Jonathan Taylor at 7, and then Jefferson swings back around to me, yeah, I would take him, obviously, but he's not a first-round guy for me just because of the situation in Minnesota. Love the player. If he were almost anywhere else, I'd be like, yeah, this is the guy.
Fair enough. So now at 10, who are you taking?
10. This is a guy that you had a little bit earlier. Got him going a little bit later. I got CeeDee Lamb. We already talked about. Love CeeDee. Love the upside he has. It's just a concern about the quarterback for me. But he's one of those guys where, Dak is serviceable, and still, I would love having CeeDee on my team this late.
Nice. And so now we'll jump down to 11. Who's your pick over there at 11?
Number 11, another guy that you had going a little bit earlier. This is where I put Devon Achane. He's kind of in that lower half of running back for me. I say lower half. I mean, in the first round, obviously he's very good, but I think all the guys, Gibbs, Bijan, Taylor, and James Cook, I would all put above him. But still, that Miami team, they have nothing going. He's going to be the only guy. If I see him lurking around there, 100% I'm taking Devon Achane.
So my 11 and 12 are both guys that you have said earlier on in this draft. My 11 is going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown because we talked about it again. The Lions, they're a fun team. They love making the explosive passing play, but I think they have so many options. And I have Amon-Ra so low because Jameson Williams has taken such a big leap in that offense now. And you have Sam Laporta too. I believe he's coming off an injury.
He is, yeah.
But Sam Laporta, we saw when he's healthy, he's another great option in that offense for receiving. But Amon-Ra, he's a workhorse, he's a bell cow, whatever you want to call him. But I think I have him so low because if you're going to need a guy on offense for Detroit, I think it's going to be Jahmyr Gibbs, and Amon-Ra is going to have to fall to option number 2 on the offense. Obviously, number 1 in the receiving game, but I just have him low for the fact of Jahmyr Gibbs being by himself in that backfield and Jameson Williams taking that leap in his NFL career.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Amon-Ra, it's risky, it is to put him as high as I did, but we're talking about a guy who hit an 1,000-yard receiving season while hurt. He had like a torn something in his chest.
Yeah, his oblique was completely torn off.
Yeah, and he still balled out. I mean, that's the mentality that I want out of a receiver. He's going to play whenever he can. I mean, his legs got to be falling off the bone for him to not be playing. So I like Amon-Ra. I respect the lower pick, though, at number 11.
So now number 12, I believe you said this guy was going to go 6 for you. At number 12, I have James Cook. But let me explain why. James Cook, obviously, 1,600 rushing yards, 12 touchdowns last year. The only thing that kind of worries me, even though he has no competition in that backfield, is the Bills have made some moves on offense. I believe they brought Gabe Davis back, even though Gabe Davis was a shadow of what he once was. But the big one, they went out and traded for DJ Moore, who can be a great wide receiver in that room, especially with Josh Allen at his quarterback. And Josh Allen, obviously, he likes to run as well. So now with the addition of DJ Moore helping out in that offense, making the offense a little bit more dynamic, and Josh Allen being who he is, Josh Allen, arguably the best quarterback in the NFL, I think that's what's going to send James Cook further down the first round for me, but I'm still going to have him as my 12th pick.
I love that. For my 12, I was back and forth between a couple of guys. Because really, if you're the 12th pick, you got back-to-back, right? Because you're picking right again in a traditional snake draft. So I will put Christian McCaffrey here. I'll put him at the 12. I was so tempted to take Josh Allen at number 12 just because I think he's such a high upside guy. There's countless times where I see Josh Allen doesn't just win you games, he wins you leagues in fantasy. If you can get your hands on Josh Allen, you should. Obviously at the right time, don't go taking him like top 4 or anything. But if this were me picking at number 12, I think I would go CMC and then immediately follow it up with like a Josh Allen or, solidify my running back room with Amari Hampton and, keep going from there. But really like Christian McCaffrey. Still, it's hard. I have a love-hate relationship with Christian McCaffrey because one year he's so good for me, and then the next it's just terrifying. I had one of my best fantasy football teams of all time, actually with Christian McCaffrey. It was I think it was the 1,000 year when he was still in Carolina. And it was Lamar's rookie year. I had Lamar Jackson, prime C-Mac, and then DeAndre Hopkins when he was the number 1 receiver. So I had the number 1 running back, receiver, and quarterback. But taking risks, right? I took those guys early. So love Christian McCaffrey. He's just fallen off too hard for me to take him any higher, but I still like him at 12.
Well, that's going to do it for this. Will, I thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
And if you guys agree with us, let us know in the comments section down below. I'd love to hear what you guys believe how you guys think the first round of a fantasy draft should go. And like this video if you like some content like this. Going to hopefully continue to make longer videos like this, talking NBA, NFL, World Cup, maybe MLB, who knows. But thank you guys so much for watching. I had a blast doing this, and yeah, I'll see you next time.